Armel, I'm really excited to share your story here today. You're working as a sales development rep at one of my favorite tech companies, ZoomInfo. It's a tool I used every single day in my tech sales career. So excited to hear how you landed the job and what that process has been like. So why don't you share with everyone a bit more about your story and what has led you to this point here today?
Yeah, so thanks for having me, first of all. So yeah, my background's in psychology. I went to school for psychology. I was wanted to be a clinical psychologist. So I always kind of wanted to work with people. Towards the end of my time there at the university, I talked with some professors and some therapists, psychologists doing the day-to-day work. I realized that's not exactly what I wanted to do, as well as I knew I would have to go to a graduate school, master's, PhD, and get some debt and all that, and then the back end, salary-wise, it didn't exactly make sense for me, and I didn't have that desire, so I decided to go a different route. So that got me into sales. So I started actually door knocking for a roofing company, and so from there, I started asking questions regarding how to install it, just a whole bunch of stuff, and then I acquired enough knowledge and expertise to become project manager, so I started managing a little bit more, as well as obviously selling products, so siding, roofing, gutters, soffit fascia, all that stuff. Long story short, I didn't exactly want to keep climbing roofs and stuff, or being outside in the winter, or do that when I was 50 years old, right? So I started looking at other options where I can kind of use similar skills into something that's a little bit more less lucrative, as well as where I can do it for a long time.
What was it about tech sales that caught your interest?
Yeah, one thing is I was actually curious about the tech field in general. I started learning some web development, thinking that was the only way in. So I started getting into, so I did the HTML, CSS, started getting into JavaScript and all that stuff. Yeah, so I always was curious about it. Obviously, if I can make the pivot without having to learn all that information, then that's kind of what led me to tech sales. And I was pretty comfortable as well as a salesperson. I believe in myself, and I think I have the work ethic as well.
You're a well-rounded man, Armel. You understand psychology, how to read people. You've done door knocking. You can climb roofs. And you're just a jack of all trades there, and even trading, a bit technical. And that's such a great benefit of tech sales, is you're working in tech and you don't need to be very technical. So why don't you walk through your process? You had this realization, you wanted more for your career. You didn't want to climb roofs, sit and replace shingles and install whatever it is during the wintertime, et cetera, et cetera. Knocking on doors is very hard. How did you go from that place to then knowing you wanted to be in tech to then landing that tech job?
Yeah, so it was in the middle of me actually researching. So like I said, I was learning JavaScript, and so I was kind of already getting fed some information regarding some camps and this and that through my YouTube feed. And so I stumbled upon, I think everyone probably heard this one as well, Cyrus's video regarding tech sales, and so I did some more research, figured out exactly what that entails, what do I need to know, and that's when I found out about CourseCareers. Did some research, still wasn't all that convinced, so I did the plan instead of paying the full payments, and so I did that, and that kind of led me to where I am now.
What hesitations did you have about CourseCareers? Because I think it's really interesting to revisit that, because think about the thousands of folks that are in a similar position of contemplating, well, hey, $500 for this information. Is it going to work? Is it worth the money? Is it worth the time, et cetera, et cetera? What were some of those concerns you had about CourseCareers as part of your research due diligence process?
Yeah, the main concern was, one, is it legit? If it is legit, okay, but to what extent, right? So if there are lots of people going through the course, obviously we are seeing people getting jobs, et cetera, but at what percentage, right? And so that was something I was concerned about as well. But ultimately it came down to it's not that huge of an investment necessarily, as well as everyone was saying that it's a matter of time, and it really depends on the effort you put into the application process, as well as how well you prepare to interview. And so all that together, I figured, look, the risk is extremely low. Worst case, it doesn't work out, right? You're still in the same position. I could still get a job, project management or whatever I wanted to do. And so, yeah, I didn't really, yeah, the risk and the reward, get a job now, 60, 70, down the line, get promoted, etc. It just outweighed the risks tremendously to a point where it wasn't really a huge decision in the end.
It's an interesting way to hear how you process it, because to your point, based on the numbers you shared, and I know you're getting paid well at the company you're working at because it's one of the best software companies in the market, but you really pay for that $500 cost over 2 days of work once you do get hired in that full-time position. How did CourseCareers prepare you to navigate the job market, identify companies, do the interview process, and get started? Because I don't say this lightly, you're, in my view, one of the top 10 SaaS companies, and not everyone can do that, candidly. And some folks land at smaller companies, some folks land at bigger companies, some folks go as internships. So how did CourseCareers prepare you to navigate that process to have such a tremendous outcome like the place you're at today?
Yeah, I mean, it did a lot. So understanding the differences between, right, business to consumer and business to business, that was helpful. I already read some books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, so that was a good reminder. So all that technical knowledge definitely helped. But I think the main thing, honestly, was the interviewing process, how to set up your LinkedIn, things to do, the proactive things to do, not technical things that really helped out, because ultimately you are going to be trained on the job anyways. You're going to go over all that information. And so even before CourseCareers, I did start applying, but there was no structure to kind of what I was doing. And CourseCareers gave me that structure, and it gave me the confidence as well to know that I am doing the right things. Sometimes you may be doing certain things, but if you don't have that belief that you are doing the right things, there is hesitation, there is kind of a lack of effort. And so that alone can make that huge difference for you as well.
What are some best practice LinkedIn tips that folks who are listening can apply today?
Yeah, one, professional picture. That's, people are going to see it. That's the first thing they're probably going to see. And I see a lot of people also in the heading there, they're putting a lot of different positions there. And so if you can simplify, go for one thing, be active, message recruiters, connect with people, comment, and that'll just that'll increase your exposure. I mean, the job that I got, it wasn't from me applying anywhere. They actually reached out to me, and so that was based off of the activity that I had. And I didn't have too much activity there, to be honest. I'm not someone posting multiple times on social media or anything like that, but I did enough. And so yeah,
having a recruiter at that company reach out to you, that's about as good as it gets. And it sounds like you put yourself in that position to be successful as a result of learning best practices and actually putting them into practice, not just listening and not doing anything about it. Armel, you talked about having the confidence in the belief in not only yourself, but the system and the process you're following, knowing if I repeat these actions consistently over time, it will lead to the outcome I want. And you mentioned CourseCareers helping provide you that structure. What were some of the most important lessons, in addition to the LinkedIn profile, that you took from CourseCareers that you now hope to apply today in your sales development role?
Yeah, one of them was organizing. Well, it was pretty much how to prospect for for companies, the same thing you do for leads or prospects, etc., for your job. So I formatted it in my Excel, had cadences, and so I had a certain amount of application that I want to do on a day-to-day basis. And so I did that. So I reached out to LinkedIn, messaged recruiters. So I went through that whole process. So I probably did at some point, I think I was applying to like 20 jobs a day. So I got to upwards of like 20 200 some applications.
That's what I'm talking about, Armel. It's all about the volume and putting in the numbers, because folks reach out to me and they say, man, I keep getting told no. And I'm like, how many interviews have you done? How many applications? They're like, 4. And they're like, I don't know why it's not working. And Armel's starting to pull out of the bag some of the sales lingo and terminology, industry speak, I like to say. So for those of you listening right now that are interested in getting in tech and learning what he's talking about in this specific process, visit the first link in the description below for the free tech sales intro course, where we teach you more about this process. Armel, can you share with everyone what you have learned being on the floor? I know you're a month or 2 in, but what does some of that training look like that the company provides you after you start?
Yeah, so it was a lot. I just finished onboarding last week, actually. This was my first week not onboarding. So we learned about the company generally, what we do, the products, of course. Then we went into our mission, what we're looking to do, all of that, and then there's a lot of processes involved, from how to get a lead, from how do we assign the lead to an AE, and then how do we follow up with that lead, make sure that when they do show up on the appointment, and then if they don't, to keep them in a cadence, follow up with them. So there was a lot we learned, and it took a lot, and we're still learning right now, to be honest. But I think the main thing was the processes, and how to talk properly, like opening it up, and just there was a lot, really, to be honest.
It seems like drinking from a fire hose at first when you're trying to learn the product and just how much goes into it, and APIs and integration and all these different tools and tax systems as well. What has been the most challenging part about the onboarding process for you?
Honestly, it's trying to keep all the information that I was given, and how to actually create my own process and make it make sense for me. The main thing I think for me and for the class that I was onboarded with, it's talking on the phone is generally not a big deal, but it's the processes in which we have to book the demo, assign it, make sure that's done correctly, follow up with the AE, make sure that the client shows up on it, and just keeping on top of it, and the steps for that's been the most challenging thing, not necessarily being on the phone. For me, I've been in front of people, door knocking and calling, so I'm used to that, but it's the process, and that is probably the hardest thing for me. And now, as I'm done with that, I'm kind of getting a hang of it, and now it's more trying to get someone on the phone now and having that conversation. So yeah.
Why do you view the career path of tech sales as being higher upside than door knocking?
Well, I mean, door knocking, you can make a lot of money, and I know people that make hundreds of thousands of dollars door knocking. But in terms of the upside, it's weather limited, so that's one. And two, with tech sales, you can keep getting better at your craft, and you will keep getting promotions. And so, as far as on the high end, it's just much higher, and you can do it for a longer period of time. You can do it 50, 60, whatever, right? So it's really up to you for how long you do want to work. And so, and honestly, I don't like winter either, and so I live in states where there's winter, and I'd rather not be outside door knocking as well. And also, you're still working on it's more of you're still working for pay, kind of, and so this way as well, you're kind of leveraging your mind, you're leveraging your knowledge, and as you are getting better with that craft as well, you'll be able to exponentially increase your income.
What's next for you, Armel? You just completed the onboarding. You're about to hit the sales floor if you haven't already. Then how do you see the next 3 to 6 months playing out?
Yeah, for this next month, my goal is to just get my systems down, get my pitch down, understand my objection handlers, all of that, and then hit quota. And so the next 3 months, I do plan on being promoted, and then from there, we'll kind of see what it entails. But yeah.
What does that promotion path look like?
Yeah, so I need to, for this first month, hit a certain amount of, get a certain amount of demos completed. I think that's 15 for the first month. Then that doubles, and then that doubles again. And then once I hit 200, then I get promoted to outbound. Right now I'm inbound. And so my goal is to get to outbound. There is some questions as to if I do want to move to the customer, what's the word?
Success.
Yeah, customer success path. So I'm having a conversation with my manager regarding that. But right now, I'm just trying to do what I can, hit my quota, understand the product, understand my pitch, understand the processes, and as soon as I can get that structure for that and it's systematic, then I'll be good to go.
Can you explain the difference between inbound and outbound sales as a sales development representative?
Yeah, inbound sales. So these are people that have shown an interest in our product via our website, via someone reaching out to them already, and we are trying to set up demos for our AE. Outbound, you are reaching out to these people. They may not have shown an interest, saying on our website or anything like that. So you're proactively going after them. Inbound, they've come to you one way or another, and you're just trying to qualify that lead and trying to get them set up.
What advice would you have for someone that's listening out there that wants to follow in your footsteps? Maybe they're similarly ambitious. They've looked into coding and they say, I can't be bothered with this. This is too technical. They're knocking on doors. They're in a warehouse. They're working in a retail store. They're doing some job that's low leverage, non-knowledge based, to your point. What advice would you have for that person?
Yeah, I mean, understand, one, what you're looking to do as far as your life. You can make a good living door knocking. You can make a good living being a project manager. But I think it really depends on what you want for your life. And so figure out what it is you want to be doing long term, if it makes sense, if it doesn't make sense. And then you just make the decision off of that. For me, there are other things I want to do outside. I want to invest in real estate. I want to do certain things. So when I'm not working, I'm working on those other things. And so time was extremely important to me. And so while you can make decent money doing other things, it consumes a lot of time. And so I'd rather use that time to build other things for myself, right? Because you're working a job, which is all good and well, but at the end of the day, it's still a job, and you're not in control of that. You may do the best job that you can, right? But doesn't mean that everything will go as you have planned, and so you still need to have other things. And at 40, 50, if you don't decide you don't want to be working anymore, then having the ability not to is extremely important to me. And so you have to decide what you want in life, and then obviously this has a extremely high income possibility as well, and so you can use that as well to feed other things that you want to do. And so, like I said, it just depends what you want to do in life. Figure out what makes sense, what you want to be, what you are willing and able to do long term, and then go from there.
The final question / statement / request. Give us a quick pitch why those listening right now should visit the first link in the description below for the free tech sales intro course.
I mean, are you happy where you are right now? If not, what do you have to lose? Give it a shot, and you'll find out in 5-6 months from now if you made the right decision. But if you don't want to, if you're not happy with where you are right now, then go for it.
Boom. And that's why Armel's an SDR at a top tech company. Armel, thanks so much for being here today. I'm sure so many folks are going to find motivation, wisdom, usefulness in what you shared here today. Something everyone can do right now. Go to the LinkedIn, get a professional headshot, update it, go check out Armel on LinkedIn. And those are tips you can use today to then start getting reach out to recruiters by recruiters to make your life a whole lot easier. Armel, thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks for your time, Trent.